I wish I never opened that message on my sister's phone. I wasn't looking for anything. I wasn't suspicious. I wasn't trying to prove something. I was just helping her fix a setting. That's all it was supposed to be. A simple moment. A normal afternoon. And then I saw the notification. Not hidden. Not locked. Just sitting there like it belonged. Transfer confirmed. That was the first line. I remember it clearly. Because it didn't fit. Not with her life. Not with what she told us. Not with what everyone believed. I didn't open it right away. I just stared, trying to convince myself it wasn't what it looked like. But something inside me already knew. I'm telling this on Exposed Stories Media because sometimes the truth doesn't come from confrontation. It comes from a moment you weren't supposed to see. My name is Daniel. I'm the younger brother. Always the observer. Always the one who notices things after everyone else stops looking. My sister, Claire, was the opposite. Confident. Social. Effortlessly liked. She had the kind of life people admired without questioning. A beautiful home. A successful husband. A routine that looked stable. Predictable. Safe. That word safe came up a lot when people talked about her marriage. Claire is taken care of. She married well. He provides. Those sentences were everywhere. At holidays. At dinners. At family gatherings. My parents believed it. My relatives repeated it. And Claire, she never corrected it. She just smiled. That same calm smile that I didn't question at the time. Because it looked real. That's the thing about well-practiced happiness. It doesn't feel fake. It feels complete. Her husband, Marcus, fit perfectly into that image. Polished. Controlled. Careful with his words. He worked in finance. Not loudly. Not publicly. But in a way that carried weight. He didn't overshare. Which made people trust him more. That was his advantage. He knew how to say just enough. And hide the rest. I didn't have a problem with him. Not at first. He was respectful. Measured. Never rude. But never open either. He kept distance. Even with family. At the time I thought that was personality. Now I understand it was design. Claire changed after she married him. Not immediately. Slowly. In ways that were easy to ignore. She stopped talking about money. Not complaining. Not discussing. Just stopped. Which didn't match who she used to be. She liked control. Liked knowing. Liked planning. Then suddenly everything became his domain. He handles it. That was her line. Always the same. Always simple. Always final. I remember asking once, how are you guys structuring savings? She smiled. Marcus has a system. That answer sounded fine. But it wasn't an answer. It was a deflection. At the time I let it go. Because nothing looked wrong. That's how these things work. Everything looks fine until it doesn't. That afternoon at her house was normal. Quiet. No tension. No argument. She asked me to help her with her phone. Something about notifications not syncing. I took it. Unlocked. Simple. Then the message appeared. Transfer confirmed. From an account I didn't recognize. To another account I definitely didn't recognize. And the amount didn't match the life she described. I opened it. Just enough to see. Not enough to fully understand. But enough to know this wasn't casual. This wasn't small. This was structured. Intentional. And hidden. I put the phone down slowly. My heart didn't race. I didn't panic. That's not how I react. I observe. I store. I wait. Did you fix it? She asked from the kitchen. Yeah, I said. And I meant it. Because something had just been fixed. In my understanding. After that day I started paying attention. Not aggressively. Not obviously. Just enough to see patterns. Claire didn't change overnight. That would have been easier. She stayed consistent. Calm. Friendly. Normal. Which made everything harder. Because the truth was hiding inside normal. At dinner a few nights later I watched how she interacted with Marcus. Carefully. Quietly. Not submissive. But adjusted. Like someone who had learned which parts of themselves to soften. He controlled conversations. Subtly, he answered for her sometimes. Not in a rude way, in a helpful way. That's the kind of control people don't notice, unless they're looking for it. I started asking small questions. Nothing direct, just enough. How are things going? Good. Always good. How's work? Busy. Always busy. How's the house? Perfect. Always perfect. Her answers didn't change. That was the problem. Real life changes. Real people shift. But her responses stayed polished. Too polished. I went back to that message. In my head, over and over. Transfer confirmed. From where? To where? Why? A week later I visited again. Not announced. Just stopped by. Marcus wasn't home. That mattered. Claire seemed more relaxed. Less controlled. We talked longer. About random things. Then I asked, carefully, do you handle any finances? She hesitated. Just for a second. Then smiled. No. Marcus takes care of everything. Same answer. Same tone. But this time I heard something else. Relief. And something under it. Something closer to avoidance. I nodded. Changed the subject. But inside everything was connecting. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Because I needed more than suspicion. I needed structure. At work I deal with financial audits. Not dramatic ones. Detailed ones. Patterns. Movements. Timing. That skill followed me home. I started with public information. Property records. Corporate filings. Anything tied to Marcus's name. At first everything looked clean. Of course it did. Men like him don't leave obvious mistakes. But nothing is perfect. The house wasn't in their names. It was under an LLC. That's normal. But the ownership chain was layered. Too layered. For something that simple. Then I saw something else. Claire's name appeared briefly. In one filing. Then disappeared. That's not random. That's deliberate. I kept going. There were transfers between entities. Consulting fees. Internal movements. Nothing illegal on the surface. But the pattern was clear. Money moved in circles. And Claire was part of that structure. Without understanding it, that's when it shifted for me. This wasn't just secrecy. This was control and exposure. At the same time, a few days later she called me. Late. Unusual. Can you come over? Her voice was quiet. Not scared. But not steady. I went. Marcus wasn't there. Again. She was sitting at the table. Her phone in front of her. She didn't look at me immediately. I saw something, she said. I didn't answer. I don't understand it. She pushed the phone toward me. Another transfer. Larger this time. More complex. And this time she had opened everything. All the details. Did you sign anything recently? I asked. She nodded. Some documents. For taxes. For refinancing. Did you read them? Silence. That was enough. The confrontation wasn't loud. It wasn't emotional. It was controlled. That's what made it worse. Marcus came home late, saw both of us sitting there, and immediately knew. Not what we knew, but that something had changed. What's going on? He asked. Claire didn't smile. That was the first sign. I need you to explain something, she said. He stayed calm. Of course he did. That depends on what it is. She turned the phone toward him. The transfers. Pause. Then the smallest shift in his face. Not panic. Recognition. He had expected this moment. Just not now. It's structured movement. He said. Nothing to worry about. That phrase again. Nothing to worry about. I spoke. It involves her name. He looked at me. Cold. You shouldn't be involved. Claire cut in. I am involved. That changed everything. He tried to recover. It's for protection. Protection from what? She asked. He didn't answer directly. Instead he explained complexity, structures, optimization, efficiency. Words that sound smart and mean nothing when used like that. I stayed quiet. Let him talk. Because people reveal themselves when they think they're in control. Then Claire said it. Am I exposed? Silence. Real silence. He didn't say yes. He didn't say no. He paused. And that pause was the answer. Everything shifted. Right there, she leaned back. Slow. Controlled. You used my name. Not a question. A statement. He exhaled. This is how it works. No apology. No denial. Just justification. That was his mistake. Because in that moment he chose the system over her. The aftermath wasn't instant. No dramatic exit. No shouting. Just decisions. Claire froze accounts. Requested documents. Brought in legal review. Not emotional. Structured. That surprised him. Because he thought she didn't understand. That was his second mistake. Weeks passed. Then months. The truth became clear. He hadn't stolen money. He hadn't broken obvious laws. But he had built risk around her. Used her identity, her credibility, her trust, as part of his structure. And never told her. That's enough. More than enough. They separated. Quietly. No public drama. No announcements. Just distance. The family struggled. Because nothing exploded. They kept asking, can it be fixed? That's the wrong question. Some things don't break loudly. They collapse internally. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Claire changed. Not dramatically, but honestly. She started asking questions. Reading everything. Controlling her own decisions. Not perfectly, but independently. That mattered. If there's one thing I learned, it's this. The most dangerous lies don't sound like lies. They sound like stability, like safety, like someone telling you don't need to worry. My sister said she was happy, and maybe part of her believed it, until the moment she saw what I saw, and realized the life she trusted was built on something she was never meant to understand. That's the kind of truth you don't forget, even if you wish you could.